Hey everybody, so I just got done playing the Final Fantasy 16 demo that just debuted 3 or 4 in the morning here in the central time zone of the United States. And while I, of course, couldn't try it or start it out right away due to previous obligations, I was able to this afternoon and evening, and I have generally more favorable impressions overall on it than what I was expecting. And so feel free to join me here as I kind of go through my various thoughts and whatnot for this. And I haven't played a new Final Fantasy since the 15th entry came out, I think like 6 or 7 years ago or something crazy like that. But I'm actually looking forward to playing Final Fantasy 16 now more since this demo. One of the nice things with Final Fantasy 16 is that the main game stars the character Clive, who is 28 years old. And honestly, this is kind of a nice change from what we've seen from previous Final Fantasies, where it's the sullen teenager and it's a nice change that it's an adult character versus standard teen drama, which kind of seems like it always encompasses these RPGs. One thing with Final Fantasy 16 that is comparable with 15 is that it's the main character who is a dark-haired, stoic son of a king, or I guess in this instance with 16's son of a duke. With this game, though, with 16, it almost feels kind of like payback for Final Fantasy Spirits Within, the 2001 movie that Squaresoft had made that nearly folded the entire company. And I say that because the demo at least made it seem more like a movie than a game. I was watching a lot more than actually taking part in a lot of the action. Though, fortunately, that was not the case with the second part of the demo as much, which occurs a little bit later in the game, where you take control of the 28-year-old Clive, and that tended to capture the gameplay aspect of it a lot better, and gameplay being the battle aspect. The battle system, of course, itself is pretty good. It felt kind of like Final Fantasy 15's battle system, but a lot more nuanced. I rolled my eyes when they introduced the stagger part of the battle system, because of course that's back, but that's been pretty much a mainstay for Final Fantasy games since this title right here, Final Fantasy 13. But admittedly, though, I was worried because I'm old and I really don't have the same reflexes that I did as a younger kid. But fortunately, Final Fantasy 16's battle system is pretty forgiving and nuanced in regards to like nailing the counters and whatnot, and making sure the dodges are done at the perfect time. The normal battles themselves are pretty mindless and didn't really require a lot of strategy, but the bosses, they were pretty excellent. Biggest mainstay on that, or the biggest fun that I had with the bosses, was the Dragoon fight, where Clive is fighting one of the Dragoons from the Empire. And that's a subtle nod to the Final Fantasy IV overall, and this game actually is full of a lot of these nods. And it just feels like a Final Fantasy. It's more than just the chocobos and the monsters and the general looks of the characters, which it leans a little more heavily on Final Fantasy XIV's influence regarding the looks of like the human characters especially, but that's to be expected when I believe the director himself was from 16 was one of the main ones from Final Fantasy 14. Another one of the references with Final Fantasy IV particularly is the king gives the main character a mission to go out and take care of a monster problem, and the night before he's greeted by a potential love interest in a scene that's backlit and shown via the kind of the moon with the background, and again that just totally screams Final Fantasy IV. And another part that was kind of funny was in regards to that mission, 2 soldiers accompanied him, and I was really surprised those soldiers' were not named Biggs and Wedge. And the world map, when Clive traveled from the main castle to this mission was more reminiscent to like Final Fantasy X with like the airship travel and how that worked. And there was also a scene where there was a mysterious robed figure, kind of reminded me of Final Fantasy X's Bahamut Faith, or even like a Kingdom Hearts villain, Organization 13, and other stuff peppered in. Like I love the cute nod to the 16-bit sprites shown in the menu, and some of the musical themes that played, such as the victory theme when bosses are defeated, or even the prelude theme that plays during the very beginning cinematic battle right before the demo kicks off to the flashback of Clive's youth. Overall, regarding the music, it honestly sounded a little bit too quiet to me. So I actually had to increase the overall master volume and kind of lower the voice acting and sound effects so that the music was a little bit more dominant. And Masayoshi Soken's compositions could really, I could really hear them out regarding the environments and how subtle they were, as well as how orchestrated they were regarding especially the battle themes and the boss fights, which it was excellent there, and even the orchestrated and voiced vocals for the kaiju fight that was in the demo, which regarding that I felt that was okay. There's no real physical movement of Phoenix, whom the player takes control of in the demo. It's more like an on-the-rails fighter where the player controls the reticule that moves around, and you just shoot fire at the enemy, and there's just one button that evades attacks that are deployed against the Phoenix from the enemy, and that was really it. So admittedly, I wasn't all too like, oh my gosh. Of course, it ran really smoothly. Really, everything pretty much ran smoothly, and I made sure to change the options from putting emphasis on the graphics to frame rate integrity, because to me, I want a smooth performing game. I'm not as worried about it looking flashy and great. But overall, I would say one of my only gripes with the game is the fact that I haven't seen any mini map or anything like that. In my opinion, that would be really nice to have. But besides that, again, I'm surprisingly looking forward to watching this 40-hour plus movie and hopefully getting a little bit of gameplay in there, as again, that's kind of what the demo made me feel. So overall, I wasn't excited for it. Admittedly, I was not excited for this game, as I had discussed before in previous videos. I'm maybe a little bit more excited, maybe a little bit more to kind of move from The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom to Final Fantasy 16. Again, two of my favorite video game series. Let me know if you're looking forward to playing Final Fantasy 16 when the full game comes out. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.